The Kawasaki ZZR1400. Who on earth is this motorcycle for? What kind of rider do you need to be to get on one of these awesomely crazy bikes? Well, let's jump on and let's find out. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? When you have a look at the spec sheet of one of these bikes, it seems a bit crazy. But what if I were to tell you that actually they're not as crazy as they might seem? They're perfectly rideable for the average rider, as I've kind of mentioned in an earlier video, or at least a video that I shot earlier today, rather. You know what, I don't like these speed bumps, so I'm gonna go around it, because I can. Yeah, this motorcycle is one of those bikes actually that the vast majority of riders can ride and enjoy, but it is a little bit intimidating, I get it. But at the same time, I don't want you to be afraid of it. If you've got a good few years experience riding bikes, then don't be afraid to jump on one of these and check it out for yourselves. Honestly, it's a really, really good motorcycle, very, very versatile, and it's not as crazy as it might look on paper. All right, it's good at everything, honestly. It's good for those times when you want a bit of a thrill. It's good for those times when you want a bit of a chill. And it's good for those times where you want to share the experience with others as well, because a big bike, it's got loads of room. Yeah, fantastic for passenger riding. The seat is great. Absolutely love it. All right, so who is this motorcycle not for? This bike is not for those people who have a habit of doing this too much. 100% of the time. There are people out there that love to redline their bikes. This is not one of those motorcycles that you want to do. That's not one of those bikes that you want to do it on. All right, this is far more sophisticated. It's far more just it deserves more respect than that. You know what I mean? You really shouldn't be treating the vast majority of bikes like that, but I know that a lot of people do. If you do, this bike is probably not going to be for you. All right, it's also not going to be for those people who just get too tempted by the power that it has. All right, just because this bike can do 186 mile an hour doesn't mean you have to do 186 mile an hour everywhere you go. You know what I mean? You have to be able to rein in those emotions, rein in that feeling. All right, if you can do that, then you won't have any problems on this bike. But I do see it. Like the first time that someone gets on a bike like this, they take it on a motorway and they just, you know, give it 100% just to see what it's like. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's all well and good. Once you've got that out of your system, all right, then ride it with a bit more respect. Ride it with a little bit more care, I suppose. You do need to have a lot of care on this motorcycle, not just for yourself, but those around you as well. This thing is incredibly heavy for a motorcycle. If you're not careful with it, I mean, cruisers are heavy bikes, tourers are heavy bikes, but they can't go anywhere near as fast as this. They're not anywhere near as powerful as this. So, you know, mass times acceleration equals bad things. You know what I mean? It can be, a pretty bad affair if you're not careful, right? If you don't treat this bike with respect, it can hurt you and it can hurt people around you as well, all right? Imagine if I was being stupid in this area of town here and I ended up fumbling the bike. Well, yeah, this bike can kill you and it can kill other people if it hits someone. So this bike will leave a huge dent in a wall or something like that. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you are looking to buy a motorcycle like this, this bike isn't really for the kind of person that gets scared too easy. Because as I kind of mentioned earlier, even though this bike, the vast majority of riders should be able to enjoy, well, there are going to be those types of riders that might think that they can handle something like this. And then they get on it and they realize that, wow, this is way, way too much. Or at least it might be way too much for you right now. You know, maybe in a good few years' time, I don't know, maybe you'll feel a little bit differently about it then. So it's always important to go on a test ride before you actually go ahead and pull the trigger on one of these bikes. Just make sure that it's not too much for you, and because that's the last thing you want, is to be so intimidated by the bike that you end up buying it and you just end up keeping it in your garage. What's the point? The bike needs to be ridden. When I bought this motorcycle, it had less than 2,500 miles on it, and it was already 4 years old. Like, the previous owner didn't ride the damn thing. And then there's me in 4 years of owning this motorcycle. I've more than trebled that mileage, enjoyed every single mile, and I've had other bikes in the meantime as well. This ST hasn't got anything on this bike, man. That Focus ST ain't got nothing on this bike. See? That's the thing as well, is I know I'm having a little bit of fun there, but that's another thing I don't want you to get drawn into, is races by other people around you. People that think they can take you on, they probably can't. There's not many things out there that can take on the ZZR1400. Not many bikes, let alone not many cars. Right? So don't get drawn into all that, it's not worth it. This bike in a straight line can smoke nearly anything, okay? Seriously, it will take something like a Tesla Model S, or a Ninja H2, maybe even a new Model Fireblade SP or something like that to beat this motorcycle in a straight line. Okay, there isn't much out there. There's probably less than 10 cars and bikes in the world, well, for street bikes, street cars, that can beat this motorcycle in a straight line. Alright, there isn't many. So don't abuse it. Alright, don't abuse the power that you have. Okay, it's very easy to be tempted by the dark side on a bike like this. Don't be tempted. Stay cool. And yeah. Mind your thoughts there, Anakin. So this motorcycle is for someone, a rider who's a little bit maturer, someone who doesn't need to go fast everywhere all the time, but does like to have a sporty experience with a load of torque under their bum, in between their legs, right? A literal squid missile, this thing. I mean, if you're a squid, yeah, just treats it. Someone that treats this bike with respect, someone that appreciates the engineering, someone who is an enthusiast, a motorcycle enthusiast. Yeah, someone who likes their bike, someone that's really into their bikes. That's the kind of person that would appreciate a motorcycle like this, rather than some flash in the pan rider who doesn't really know what they're buying, but they heard it's one of the fastest bikes in the world, like the Hayabusa, so, well, they think, oh, I'll buy it. You know what I mean? And as someone who isn't afraid either to try new things. I remember I went from a parallel twin 650cc motorcycle to this. That's a huge jump! But I had been riding for about 8 years before then, you know? 7 or 8 years before I bought this motorcycle. So I knew full well that I had to give this bike a lot of respect and be careful with it. Oh my goodness, there's so much, like, so many of those puddles out there that just spur on the GoPro, so annoying. Woo! Remember everyone, this is 0 to 60 in just over 2.5 seconds, a smidge over 2.5 seconds. Quarter mile, just over 9.5 seconds. That is absolutely crazy, ridiculous for a street bike. My goodness, it is just next to insanity. But that's just on the spec sheet, alright? Remember, as I've always said, you can ride fast things slowly. You don't have to ride them fast everywhere. So please don't be tempted too much by the power, and know when it's safe to pull on that throttle. Know when it is safe to have a bit of fun on this bike. And the thing is, this bike is actually really enjoyable going slow as well. It's quite nimble considering how heavy it is. You can flick it into corners somewhat. Yeah, you can enjoy this motorcycle at slower speeds almost as much as at high speeds. Woo! Little wheelie there. Little wheelie off a bump on the road. Little baby wheelie. Yeah, this bike deserves a gentleman or a gentle lady to ride. Okay, so please keep that in mind if you're looking to buy a motorcycle like this. Right. But if you are one of those people that thinks this bike's going to be too much for you, please give it a go before you give up on it. Don't look at the spec sheet and think that is way too much for me. You never know. Don't be afraid to test ride it. Don't let your fear take over you. Okay? Alright. Yeah, this bike's fast. It's not uncontrollable. The torque curve is manageable. It's not jerky, it's really smooth. The power delivery is really smooth, and of course it's got two different power modes as well, so if you're really wanting to put it in the lower power mode to begin with, that's an option as well. I don't really see much of a difference between the two power modes. I think one's 80% and one's 100%, so it's not a significant difference, at least not in the lower end anyway. It might be more towards the top end of the range. That was a traction control kicking in there, trying to stop me from pulling wheelies. I was meant to turn that off earlier and I totally forgot. It's really annoying how this bike, if you turn off traction control, you turn the bike off, you turn it back on again, it will re-enable traction control again. Yeah, bit annoying if you ask me. Oh dear, I think that was an L plate. I think that driver in front just lost an L plate, went flying. But this motorcycle needs a sensible rider, someone who knows what's underneath them, and yeah, someone who's willing to take care of a motorcycle like this. Unfortunately, they don't seem to be as appreciated as the 1000s. They don't seem to be as appreciated as the Fireblades and the R1s and the ZX-14Rs, things like that. The Gixxer 1000s. People care more about those bikes than they do the ZZR1400, which is a bit of a shame, but honestly, it's one of those experiences that I'd heavily recommend you check out. Let's see if I can get past some of this traffic here. There we go, not too bad, not too bad. Here. Oh, looks like someone's had a crash. And that's the thing, it doesn't take much on the throttle to get a lot of power out of this motorcycle. So doing things like overtaking, you know, getting ahead of people is really like not a big deal. That's a nice Gixxer. Yeah, really not a big deal on a motorcycle like this, honestly. It's a doddle. Absolute doddle. Don't have to give it much to get a lot of power, and I love the convenience of that you've got so much power on tap, more than you could ever use for street use. It's just a nice feeling, you know. I think the type of rider that would ride this motorcycle and truly appreciate it is going to be the person who knows that they're never ever going to experience the full power of the motorcycle, or at least not often anyway, maybe in small amounts. But yeah, it's honestly a lot of riders can get on a bike like this. Seriously, a lot of riders can. This is one of those motorcycles I think that deserves to be enjoyed, not just for its power, but for everything this bike has to offer, despite the fact that its power is something that everyone wants to experience. Woo! There we go. She's got some wheelie in her. Let's try one more. Woo! Yeah, she's got some power, this bird. She sure does. Woo! Yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun. A lot of fun. But yeah, it needs someone who can enjoy it for all the aspects of this motorcycle, not someone that is looking for just power, just nothing but power, because that's such a caveman way of thinking on a machine that is so sophisticated. This is yeah, truly like a gentleman's sport bike. But anyway, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this ride out with me today. It's been pretty nice weather today. The roads haven't been too bad, apart from those nasty puddles that we've been seeing a lot of recently. But we're so close to spring now. I mean, by the time this video comes out, we may already be in spring, I hope. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this year's riding season. I think we're going to have a good one. But let me know what you think down in the comment section below about the amazing ZZR1400 and who you think a motorcycle like this is for. Leave that like, hit that subscribe button, go ahead, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future content on the ZZR1400. And we will catch you all in the next video, everyone. Take care, ride safe.